Hi, welcome to how to tune a snare drum, but not only one side, both sides. Now when it comes to tuning both of the heads, you might think it's pretty much the same on both ends. There's only one big thing that kind of separates the two, and that is these bad boys. Now the issue with the snares, oh, it sounds so bad when I talk into it. Now the issue with the head with the snares on it is you have to obviously move the snares. Now whenever you're learning how to retune drum heads, they don't talk about the reso head as much, and at the same time they don't talk about redoing the snares as much. It may be easy and straightforward, but it's one of those things where you don't know what you don't know. So I'm here to help you know the things that you should know. So a few things right off the bat. Number one, even tension. Now if you don't put down the head evenly, then that makes it uneven. Yeah, I know, shocker, right? But whenever it goes down evenly, it makes the head sound the same all the way around. Number two is making sure you take your time while tuning. You'd be surprised what kind of nice sounds you can make if you take your time tuning the drum. There's been times where I had to rush trying to tune the drum up before a gig or something like that, and whenever that happens, I'm usually not happy with the result. After a while, you can kind of get faster with it, obviously, but being able to take your time really does help the end result. And number three is don't get frustrated at your sound. Now, same thing with number two. This is going to take time to get better at, and it's going to take doing. So whenever you get frustrated about, oh, this isn't the sound I want, and you have to redo it, or these pitches aren't really working out for me, the sound's not good, I don't like this, the reverb of it, I don't like the blah blah blah. Don't get frustrated at it. Just embrace the journey, essentially. Speaking of the journey, let's go ahead and start with the batter head. This is my snare drum from my Tama Club Jam, and it is a 13-inch snare drum, so it's a little bit of a strange one. First thing we want to do, this is our throw off for our snares. Now this is it on. That's what makes the snare sound happen. You kick it off, that's not happening. That's because on the bottom here, you see the snares and how they're kind of nice and loose. Whenever that's loose, then the sound doesn't happen. It just sounds like a regular old drum without snares. Now, whenever you kick it on, let's kick it on again. It's pressed up onto the head in such a way that it makes the vibrations happen on that head. So now whenever you hit it, it reacts to it. So for now, we're going to keep it off. Now you have a lot of people talk about doing a star pattern when tuning with these lugs here. You need to do it in a pattern that evens the tension out. So you want to go lug here, lug here, lug here. You just go around and around like that. I have a way to make it as simple as possible. And that is, you have these drum keys. This is what you use to tune the drum. I just grab two of them. And the way to make the tension as even as physically possible is to do them both at the same time. So you have this one that's on this side, go directly across, and you tune that one as well. So let's do that real quick. What we're gonna do is this is a tightened drum, we're just going to detune it. So let's undo it. Let's just do turns like this. I'm just doing half turns. You hear those creaky sounds? That's okay, it's no big deal. Awesome. You see the ripples there? It's no big deal. We are just loosening it, so that's all right. All right, now we are set to where all these are loose, all these tension rods. You can hear. So now we are just going to loosen them with our fingers. All right, great. So now everything is completely loose. So now what we're going to do is grab a piece of tape. I got a piece of painter's tape. All this is going to be for is putting the rim back exactly the way it was after you're done tuning it. Now the reason why I do this is because sometimes for older drums, the rims warp just ever so slightly, and you don't want that to be moved. you want it to stay that way. So for now, let's just do any old side. So I'm just going to do the side with the throw off. So here's this tape right here. As you can see, we have that tape on the rim. And now we're just going to put the tape on. Now painter's tape is nice because it's really delicate tape. So it's not going to mess anything up, mess up any finishes or anything like that. We're good to go. So now we know to put this back onto this section. Now the next step is to literally take the rim off. So let's do that. All of the tension rods are on there, ready to go. We don't have to take any of those off. Put that in the safe spot over here. Then we are going to take this head off, and voila, we see the inside of the drum. Now that we see the inside of the drum, what we are going to do is we are going to check the bearing edge. That's just this edge here that holds the drum head, and I'm feeling around it to see if there's any bumps or anything. Make sure it's nice and smooth. If there's any kind of bumps or any rigid spots that might mess with the drum head, we might need to go forward and sand it or other things like that. I can feel there's no issues or anything like that. We should be good to go on that end. Now the next thing I would like to do is make sure all of these internal screws are all nice and tight. I have this Pearl multi-tool that has done great things for me in gigs, at the music store I work at, and it's awesome. It has all the things that you need. I just pulled out the Phillips screwdriver here. It has Allen wrenches and everything like that. So everything in here are Phillips screwdrivers, or Phillips screws. So I'm just gonna make sure everything is nice and tight. Note when you're doing this, make sure you don't over tighten to where you strip the screw. That would make things very difficult for you. Alright, the last thing I'm going to do while we have this bad boy open is just to check the inside and make sure there's no debris or I call it sawdust, just be stick dust. Make sure none of that is in here, and it doesn't look like it is. I'll just give it the good old spin upside down and do that. And also I'll blow into it. And there's nothing flying back in my face. So it looks like we are good to go as far as that is concerned. So at this point you would pull out your new drum head. I'm just opening this up to give it maintenance, make sure everything's nice and tight, and do this video for you guys. So I'm putting that same head back on, but this is part where you would get your head out and place it. Now, I like to place it to where, for drum sets at least, to where my throw off is here on my left side. It's your right side because you're facing opposite of me, but I like to have Remo, or the logo if it's Evans, whatever, right here facing like that, and I like to have this right here to my left. Now that's just a preference thing. It's not going to be the end of the world if you don't do that. It doesn't really matter. So now that that's nice in place, we are going to put this rim back on. Now remember that tape we put on there? We are going to make sure it aligns with the tape that we had on the body of the drum, which is right here on that throw off, remember? So now we are going to match that up. Perfect. So now this rim is on there like before. Cool. So now it's loosely on there. So now we are just going to put these tension rods in their respective holes here. Now we're just placing them in there. We're not even finger tightening it. We're just making sure everything is fitting good. Now I'm just going to do a little finger tighten now, just to make sure that they're threaded and they're not going to run away on me. If the tension rods just aren't really going in and they're kind of resisting, there's two things. Either the tension rod is bent or it could use some lubrication. So this is one of the tension rods here. It's in good shape. It's lubed up okay. All right, so now this is the time where you would finger tighten them. So let me do that. Now while I'm finger tightening them, at the same time on opposite ends of the drum, so it keeps the tension even. All right, my drum head is now finger tightened. So now what I'm gonna do is grab my 2 drum keys again and have these guys ready. Before we do this though, I want to do one thing that scares a lot of new drummers, is I'm going to put my palm right here in the center. I'm going to press, almost like you're giving someone CPR, just one. Kind of pressing it down. All this is doing is, you hear the little squeak? All this is doing is breaking any kind of glue that's on the edges and loosening it up to be able to be tuned. So it's really no big deal. It can withstand a lot. It's meant to be able to be hit by pieces of wood. Yeah, we are finger tightened and now we are ready to rock and roll. Since we're kind of low, we're going to do some half turns. Now, when I say half turns, I'm just going to explain it because you don't know what you don't know. Half turns means this side ends up on that side. So 1 half turn is that. Half turn. Perfect. We're just going to do that half turn all the way around. It's obviously too low, but everything is nice and even. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to do another half turn. All right, let's give it another hit. We're starting to get some tone now. So since we're, oh, you guys hear my dogs? Now that we're doing that, we're going to lower the turns to quarter turns, because once you get up there, the pitch raises really fast and you don't want it to raise too much. So we are back at the starting point again, and we are going to be doing quarter turns. Now quarter turns, it makes sense, yeah. Instead of being here going to here, here's gonna go up here. Boop, that's a quarter turn. Here we go, quarter turn. Let's give it a listen again. Still low for me, in my opinion. Let's do another quarter turn. Alright, this is getting to my area that I like. Alright, yep, that's about the area that I like it. I'm gonna do some fine tuning now. Now, whenever you're fine tuning, I like to turn the snares off, and I like to go to each one of these lugs. So let's go to this one first. I put my stick, so here it's right at the edge. We're gonna want to scooch it about right here. Now let's hit it. And now we're gonna go to this next one. Now in my ear, it sounds like this guy is a little bit lower. Now I know we are over a microphone and everything, so if you don't hear it, there's not a lot I can help you with. Just know that this was a little bit lower. Let's listen again. So it sounds like this one is higher even among this one. So let's hear all of them. So the two that I hear that are the highest was this one and this one. It's back here, you can't see it as well. So I'm going to actually, instead of tightening all of these guys, I'm going to lower these two just a little bit. Now this is the point in time where we're just playing around and seeing what's gonna work. Let's listen to it now. Now this is the part again to where I say don't get into your head about it. Take your time on it. You're not gonna get your perfect sound right away. But yeah, that's pretty much the gist when it comes to tuning the batter side head. Now, let me show you the reso side head. Okay, thank you. This is my reso side head. Now, the batter side head is the side you hit, obviously. This is the side that people don't talk to or talk about as much. So, Step one is moving these darn snares out the way. Now we have this side here, which is called the butt plate. Very funny name, I know. Haha, this is the part where you laugh. This side here is your throw off. We talked about that earlier. So what I like to do is I like to make it sure it's turned off. It is. And then on the butt plate, I like to loosen these two. So all you need is just one of those drum keys that we have, and we're going to loosen it. And loosen this other side just the same. Nice and loose, and the snares are out. This is a good time to inspect your snare wires and make sure everything is as it should be. Nothing looks bent, nothing looks out of the ordinary, so we are all good, and we will set it aside. This is your Rezo snare without your snares on it, so now it's just a drum. Now that the snares are off, it's essentially just the same as the batter side. As far as taking the heads off, cleaning the bearing edge, and making sure there's no debris, all that stuff, you just do that again while taking the Rezo side off. If you still have the tape like I do, I'm just going to take this blue tape off of the rim on the batter side because we're done with that. I'm going to put it on this one. Alright, inspection time. Let's check the bearing edges. Sorry about the focus on the camera. Everything feels good. Nothing feels bumpy. Nothing like that. We already tightened these before, so that's all good. Now we're just seeing if there's any debris, which we checked before. I don't see any again. So it's time to go grab that new Rezo snare head that you're getting ready to put on. Like I said, this is just for cleaning purposes for me, so I'm just gonna grab that same head that I just took off. All right, let's align it. I like to align it with the batter head, crown, or logo, or whatever, just to make it all straight. It literally doesn't matter. It's just a U thing. And let's put this on. Alright, now that this is all good and finger tightened, we are going to start tightening it up. Same way as before, start with half turns. As we get closer to a pitch, we start going quarter turns until we find our sound. Now, in my opinion, for the best sound, you're going to want the Rezo side a bit higher than your batter side, so let's listen. Listen to the bottom. So the Rezo side is still a little bit lower. Let's tighten it up more. Now that it's up to a pitch that I like, let's do the push thing. Good to go. Let's listen. Now, in my opinion, all that sounded pretty darn close. Now we are going to put these snares back on, just exactly how they were. So, first step in putting these snares back on is you have these guys open because they're loose. You might need to loosen just a little bit more, finger loosen. That way there's a gap there. You're just going to put the plastic bits in that gap. So now this is the part where you do a little bit of trial and error to see what fits the best, right? So especially whenever you're just putting it back on, you're going to feel creases in these straps. So you might want to match those creases because that's what worked before. Now if it's a brand new one, it's a different story. You have to do more guessing. I'm just going to tighten this up. Alright, they are tight, they're not going anywhere. Let's pull the snares up. Oh no, look at that, watch this. So you have this, it's off, and it's on, but listen, you don't hear the snares. So the reason for that is when I put the snares on, they're not touching the bottom of the head. So here's how you fix that. We're going to loosen this all the way, and we are going to loosen these guys again. All these, or both of these, sorry. And we're going to pull on that strap. And then while pulling, I'm going to tighten it back up. All right, now it's tight. Let's pull it up, see what happens. Oh, I heard it click. Listen. I think we're good to go. Let's see. Listen to that. That's much better. You hear the snare wires and everything. Let me do some adjusting real quick. So that's kind of like the basic idea of how to tune your snare drum, both the batter side and the reso side. It's not too bad, it's not too scary to do, everything's good to go and all that fun stuff. It may seem really intimidating to get going on it, and it really shouldn't be, but it is. Now whenever you listen to the radio, there's going to be a lot of songs that have mixed drums, so the drums sound absolutely perfect, right? Almost too perfect sometimes, in my opinion. But if you listen to live stuff, it's a whole different story. You have drums that are more resonant, you have drums that are more dead, you have when I say dead, I mean like no resonance. It just hit it and it's like a pillow. And you have drums that are in between. There's no right or wrong way as far as tuning it up. It's just whatever you think sounds good, and that's okay. Now whenever you're listening to your favorite bands, sometimes listen to just the snare drum and say, hey, can I try and replicate that on my snare drum? That's sometimes the best way to go about it, because you have like a goal in mind, a sound goal, and you can push for that. Now every drum is different, so you're not going to have it exactly the same, but like I said, that's okay. That's what makes drums unique and cool. It's not, hey, this has to be set to a B flat, or hey, this has to be high, and this has to be low, and this sound has to be poppy, this sound has to be fat, or whatever. It's whatever works for you. But yeah, that's kind of like the basic mechanical know-hows on tuning both the batter side, the side you hit, and the reso side, the side that resonates. Thanks for hanging out, and I appreciate it. See ya.